And then looking at, the attack vectors that can happen, right? We talk about the risk assessment, risk management here. You've got to have a solution in place to manage this risk, right? And it's really a cost versus risk discussion. But at the end of the day, you've got to have an immutable copy, a clean copy of that data to be able to recover from if something happens. Like I said, we have customers that we're helping every week. We've had customers that we've had their data backed up for 2 days that have been attempted, right? We've had customers that have been here for years and all of a sudden something major happens. So making sure that that data is managed and protected and there for you. And you can see in this picture that if you get a breach and they get your um, credentials, they can start pulling data out. And the recovery options that are available to you today are are thin. And if they have your credentials, they can mess up those capabilities, right? They could, um, break that data, damage that data, make it inaccessible, delete it. And even if you have other copies of the data, they can block that or the recovery time for, long-term archives like legal hold and litigation hold and things like that is very long. So you're sort of stuck if you don't have that third-party copy. And then with Assured and Rubrik, once you get there, you make a phone call and we're on with you working through the process to get you recovered, right? With email, it's how many users have been affected, what has the ransom been dropped for, understand your blast radius, figure out where that right copy of data to come back from is, and then go, right? And we're here to help you work through that process. At the end of the day, it's your decision, and Rubrik can help provide a lot of information to help you make decisions on how to get your environment back. It's not, it's not, we talk about disaster recovery. We've been doing disaster recovery for years, right? Cyber recovery is not disaster recovery anymore because I can build that second copy of data, but if the encryption gets into that second copy, I can't recover. You have to have this air gapped, immutable protection to be able to recover. And then having a team at the end of the phone to help you work through the process is invaluable.
And I think the point there, Craig, is that as you mentioned, when it's ADP helping to do the restores, but it's usually going to again when you get into an incident, we're going to be working directly hand in hand with your cybersecurity insurance, right? That's almost always going to be key, and they're going to be looking at what was compromised, what needs to be restored, is data, and again, here's where we can get into where we can look at the air gap copy, confirm if it's compromised or not, go back to a point in time where it's not. They can sign off on it, and then we can restore that data and that set back into your tenant and get you back up and running in a much faster period of time and not impact any of the users. Again, this is where like granular recovery comes into play without having to roll back potentially if you were just on a native Microsoft backup. Hope you can go back far enough before the encryption event happened again, and to a granular point, or you have to roll everything back, right? And then now we're talking about a loss of data, not because of the threat actor, but because you have to roll back to a point to where they first invaded, and you're now losing productivity granularly allowed to still be there. So again, some very key points there, but ultimately just keep in mind this, anytime you have an event, you always want to make sure you're leveraging your cybersecurity insurance first and letting them dictate the processes. And then we'll get engaged to work with them directly to help through the recovery process when they have authorized it and determined it's there. And then we'll get that stuff back up and running for you in very short order.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important to have this plan in place. It's hard to test, right? Every ransomware incident is different. And then the expertise to bringing it all in the right people to help get you through that process is valuable, right? Um, and I talked about some of the features of working with Assured, right? You get a dedicated service delivery manager. So there's that point of contact because you're giving this critical function over to a service provider, right? You want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do. We want to make sure that we're communicating with you about any changes, anything that's going to affect your environment along the way to make sure that, that protection is there 24/7, 365, right? We're going to help you work through the process of the implementation, configuring SLAs. Backup SLAs are backup schedules, right? What objects, what email are we going to protect? How often does that need to be? Do those backups need to run? How long do we need to retain that data? Rubrik is a very good solution in managing the data in the background. So I don't have to do special copies for weeklies or monthlies. And Rubrik rolls up um, incrementals under the covers. Rubrik is incremental forever. So when you implement Rubrik, it's going to take a while to get that first copy of your entire M365 environment. But every backup after that is an incremental. And, early on when incrementals forever were an issue and we were doing, um, a regular roll ups of those manually, right? Rubrik manages that all under the covers, a certain amount of backups. It's going to roll that up so that there's no performance issue when you recover data. Full reporting. So, as I mentioned, we have a product called Protect You that pulls the metadata about your environment in and auto generates tickets when we see issues come up. We're also managing that data to provide reports to you. So we provide you a daily report that you can open up your email once a day, see 100% backup completion, and go about your day, right? It gives a bunch of other detailed data about the backup environment, and if there are issues, they'll be noted. And oftentimes, you'll see them and understand that we're already working on them because once they become a critical issue, like a large section of backups are failing because of some communication issue somewhere or something. Communication is always an issue with backup, right? That data's got to get from point A to point B, and if that gets broken, the backup failed, right? So we're watching those all the time, and then we're gonna immediately do a troubleshooting uh, for you on your behalf in the environment until we need your help to actually get into the environment and look at what's going on. We have a major incident management process so that if you have a major attack or some other issue, in the cloud, the we're going to help manage through major incidents, right? We're going to put a project manager on it, and we got technical people under the covers digging into whatever incident is going on with your environment. Um, and then, of course, cyber recovery expertise, right? We're going to provide that level of support to help you get back up and running after you've done the work to understand what's going on in the environment, and we'll work through that with you. The quarterly service reviews are important, right? When you set up a managed service provider, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing every day. We don't need to talk every day, but we do need to keep that communication open, right? We're going to make sure that we're doing regular touch points. You've opened 5 tickets in the last quarter. Were they resolved properly? Did we meet your expectations? Are there issues today? Is there capacity growth we need to manage? All those things we're going to review to make sure that you're happy with our service and we're doing everything we need to support your environment. And then uh, documentation, right? So if you need support in documenting the environment for any audits or um, resources that you may need for audit support, if there's regulatory agencies that need to know that you have solutions in place, we can help provide the documentation to help you get there. As I mentioned, right, we're going to provide this service to make sure that you're protected and that everything is accounted for, right? Making sure that all the data is protected in the way that you want based on your requirements. 24/7 support piece is important, as I mentioned, right? We are a Rubrik authorized support partner, which means that all of our support is Rubrik certified. And when you buy software from a company, you call that company and you'll get software support. They don't know your environment. We are managing your environment on a daily basis. And when you call us for support, we're looking at your backup environment and looking at the history of what's going on in your environment. We have all that data and we can provide you a much better level of support for any ongoing issues or anything that comes up because we are an extension of your team and we're watching your environment. And then as I mentioned, we have a support model that's going to, give you that level of urgency based on the urgency of the problem to make sure that we're getting you that support level. And when you raise issues, we're going to address them, right? Sometimes communication gets off and we're not giving you the support you need. That's where you pick up the phone, you call us, and we're going to rectify those issues.